Hello, and on the gaming table today, we're taking a look at the Battle of the Sabis. This is the beta version of the battle I played out earlier. I made a lot of mistakes in the earlier ones, so basically I replayed it with the right sort of setup, and hopefully we'll see how this one goes. So here, if you look at the table, you can see things are better here in terms of the proximity of the forces to each other. The warbands here are much closer to the Romans on the hill, and away we go in a second. Also, the command boards of both sides came out a little bit better, so maybe the warbands here will have a little bit of a better chance here against Caesar's Romans on the hill. So first up, the tribes get across the river here quite handily, using a movement point to allow them to move as a big group. And then the Romans here trying to remove their disordered markers and get into a semblance of order. They were fortunate in that they managed to do all of those, except for the skirmishes on the end here. The skirmishes on the end here ended up routing. Was it? Yes, they did. They routed as a result of the failure of their discipline check to reform. Then the warbands starting to come up the hill, but they had a fail there with a move at one stage, and so here the Romans coming back down. I'm using the little white markers here to kind of remember which units I moved. Okay, the warbands going up the hill here, the first two combats they get into, actually the Romans had the defense dice go their way, so the result got cancelled out, and so no early results there for the warbands. And now it's turned into a bit of a pushing and shoving match here. The plan here for the warbands was to kind of load up the right-hand side, their right flank, which is the bottom of the table here, with their better units and try and kind of get around the edge of the Romans. But we'll see how that actually plays out here. Having a bit of success here with the general's warband as he pushes through the Roman line. Tried to follow up, but I think he rolled a 1 for follow-up, so that means he went nowhere. Same with that unit there as well, I think. Okay, a little bit more pushing back here. So this is looking a little bit better for the warbands. They're putting some early setback cards onto the Romans here, which is all good. The Romans have already got their reinforcements on at the back there, as you can see. And now they're starting to push on the right flank. The Romans are starting to get some good results here, pushing units back in disorder. Kind of always thinking here about which are going to be the most advantageous combats and which I should do first. That's the nature of Strength and Honor, making your decisions about what you try to do first. Here, this legion moved across and charged, or didn't charge in, moved in, but basically wanted to kind of block up that its left flank, so that it didn't have to worry too much about getting lapped around. Here, the skirmishers though are going to try and do that on the right flank here. A lot more pushing back going on here. The general's unit there, he's in a tricky position. He's not facing anything, so he can't easily engage forward, and anything he tries to do is going to trigger a maneuver test, which is only a 4+ for a warband. So yeah, not such good options there unless it's like the last possible move of a turn. Meanwhile, the Romans on the right flank here pushing things back. They did have a grind result there, which blew away the skirmishes. Didn't drive the legion back, although they did have a setback card. Here in the middle, a lot more pushing and shoving. The Romans getting pushed back towards their camp, but they're managing to maintain their discipline. They haven't failed any discipline tests so far, so that's the key to keeping the Romans steady. Just keep passing those discipline tests. There, the warbands got repulsed, driven back here, and at this stage things are kind of looking balanced, about 8 or 9 setback cards each, but it's not looking so good for the warbands, to be perfectly honest. The Romans are being able to maneuver. They've started to whittle down the flanks a little bit, especially on the right flank, the Roman right flank. So yeah, the warband's not in a strong position here at the moment. Again, the centre getting pushed back there. Trying to decide what to do with this legion. Decided to try and turn them here, give some help to the left flank if it's needed. Feeling pretty confident about the Roman right flank. And yeah, just cause there as the warbands are getting pushed back, they're getting routed, they're getting disordered. Lots of setback and a couple of disaster cards starting to rack up for the warbands here as the game goes on. And so at about this stage, it was almost going to be time to call Homunculus Est, as far as the Romans were concerned. So the tribes spent their strategy point, to cancel that, but yeah, they're not in a good position here. On their turn, they tried, okay, let's try and get the general in. Rolled a 1 for his charge activation, so straight back to the Romans. And then the Romans wrap things up. And I think the total of the setback and disaster cards there was something like 24. Well beaten at the end of the day. So a big win to the Romans there. Interesting to see how the rules played out. That was my main intent, was to see how the Conquest rules went and to refamiliarize myself with Strength and Honor, not having played it in a while. So in that regards, it's a success. I'll be interested to see if I can try this one again. Maybe I can have a game with Kim or somebody else, and we'll see if the warbands can pull out a victory. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.